Hello guys, this is Oppu from Amorphis and Octoploid, and you are listening to Richard the Metal Guy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 299 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Olli Pekka-Laine, aka Oppu, plays space for Amorphis, Barren Earth, Yoveka at 70, Manhai, and new band, Octoploid. So, how are you doing today, man? It's so great to be able to talk with you today.
Well, I'm doing all right, still recovering from the American tour a little bit, but still we had a couple shows in Finland as well, and then I fell a little bit ill after that, and now it's time for a comeback and
Hell
getting
yeah.
back to life.
Hell yeah, it's great to be able to chat with you. So, kind of what I want to talk about is talk about like your musical history and sort of do a quick rundown of your discography, but take me back to young Oppu. So, growing up in Finland, what were the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to slap at a bass?
Do you mean any band from any place of the world or a Finnish band?
Any bands, like any band
Okay,
at all.
well, it started pretty early. I was around 8 years old when I started to listen to rock music. I mean, a little bit earlier, maybe some Elvis and stuff like that. So that was the basic thing back then. But then I got into one Finnish band called Mistakes, and that's something that inspired me to start to play organ and later on bass guitar. And when it comes to heavy metal music or rock music in general, I think it all started with Kiss and AC/DC. I got AC/DC High Voltage album from my older brother, and first I didn't know what to think about it. I wasn't too fond of the vocals, for example, but then I just kept listening to it and really got into it, and therefore pretty soon I had pretty admirable AC/DC collection and Kiss vinyl collection as well. I still have all those 70s vinyls, and I think all these Kiss albums until Animalized. And yeah, same goes with AC/DC, everything until Razor's Edge on vinyl. Those pressings which were available back then, I don't know if they're probably not originals, but whatever. And from there on, probably started to listen to Mötley Crüe, accept those kind of bands, and it got harder and harder from there on, like Wasp and Metallica, Slayer, and Death was probably the first death metal band. Bathory was one of the first ones, of course, and then all the ERH bands, their entire catalog. Most, I think Carcass was one of the first ones of those, and Napalm Death as well. So
Yeah.
there it's just like a little by little it transferred to harder and harder stuff. And by then, I think I already started to listen back like King Crimson and Pink Floyd and so forth. It was maybe year 90 or something, and there it started to mix a little bit. I listened to hardcore, Finnish hardcore bands like Chaos and Lama and Terveet Kädet, Riistetyt, and also some English bands like Doom, and also some American hardcore bands like Agnostic Front and Gromax and stuff like that. DRI,
Yeah.
SOD.
All good shit.
Yeah, all good shit. Yeah, not anything which was like aggressive enough. But still, we were listening to lots of prog rock already, Pink Floyd and stuff like that. And then it kind of there a little pause with aggressive music at some stage. And we just started to draw influences from folk music, for example, and all those progressive bands, Jethro Tull, stuff like that. And there wasn't that many interesting metal bands going on from the mid 90s. I think all the bands went pretty lame, including Amorphis, I think, guess. But still, yeah, I got into stoner rock at that point, somewhere in the late 90s, and started to play stoner with a stoner band called Manhai,
Yeah,
and yeah. But from there on, I kind of returned to my metal roots. Started to listen to the old favorites again, and grabbed those old Morbid Angel albums and started to study them
yeah,
again. And we just started Barren Earth, and
yeah,
it kind of started with when I heard Opeth's Still Life. It's like an album which made me realize that there was still a demand for melodic death metal,
hell yeah,
which I thought was kind of already dead at the time. But that was a kind of a inspiration to come up with a band which was like hailing to old Amorphis and
definitely.
some other influences like Morbid Angel and also those prog rock influences and mix them all together. And
Yeah,
we did 4 albums with Barren Earth, 4 albums with Manhai as well, with the stoner rock band. And yeah, it took maybe I'd say 10 to 15 years to make all those 8 albums.
yeah, which
And
we'll definitely talk about in a sec. But I'm also
yeah,
curious because I was doing my research. Like one of your first bands that's listed on Metal Archives was Nux Vomica. You did that Allegoric Execution demo in 1990. Like, tell me about that because I was trying to like look it up to like find it online to listen to, and I don't think nobody ever talks about them.
yeah. Well, it is a demo band. It was kind of a really lousy playing, but we were really ambitious when it came to music. We tried to do different things, some psychedelic shit, and we were already using clean guitar parts, and we tried some clean vocals as well. I think it was really short-lived band, somewhere from the late 80s to 91 or something like that. And uh, it's really uh, something that is not very commercial in a
Yeah,
way. It's I think it's technically really not great, but at least we tried to do something original. We made a couple demos. We made that allegoric execution and also another demo with 4-track recorder. And I think we did 3 demos in all, and probably a couple of those will be released on C cassette in near future. I'm not quite sure, but that's under the process. We've remastered those recently, so let's see if it's gonna happen. But still, there were like a couple different lineups with that band. The only members that remained were myself and a guitar player called Necro Make. And yeah, we were just doing lots of experimentation in the rehearsing slots since we had that 4-track recorder. So we just spent all our days uh, in a rehearsing studio. We probably played 5 hours a day and tried to do some things with the songs. And yeah, that's where I kind of got to know with Amorphis guys because we
yeah,
played some same youth houses as them. They had Violent Solution and we had Nux Vomica and there was Abhorrence as well. So
yeah. And you also
and
had another band, Ritm Mihario at that time too.
uh,
Did they ever did shows with Amorphis back in the day?
I don't know why I'm referred to that band, but I never was a remember of them. Actually. So they were just my friends, and uh, yeah, they were my friends, and I kind of sang some backing vocals on one of their albums. So I wasn't that involved with it.
Yeah, so fucking Metal Archives lied.
That's true. That's true. I know, but still, it's we had also some hardcore projects and some funny stuff like we like have had this like humor thrash metal band because thrash metal was kind of out of the fashion already, and we wanted to make fun of those. So we made like really cliched thrash metal band called Beyond Darkness. It's stolen from Dark Angels album, I think. And yeah, some all those kind of funny things we entertained ourselves. But anyhow, with Nux Vomic, I got to know with Esa and Tommy and Snoopy. We were playing at the same venues with our little bands, and I also had this like a fanzine or whatever. I made an article about Violent Solution and an interview with Esa. So that's where I got his phone number and he got mine. So that's how we got known. And just one day, out of the blue, Esa called me and told like, okay, I'm having this plan of putting up a band with Snoopy. Snoopy was playing guitar in Violet Solution, but he switched to the drums. So there were in the beginning there were like three of us, me, Esa, and Snoopy, and we rehearsed Esa's songs first, and then after Abhorrence split up, I think then Tommy joined us. There were plans that he would join us as a singer only in the beginning, but then he started to play guitar as well, and there it started little by little, and yeah, and we made demos and
Yeah, like
got
the Disment of Soul demo, which is just fucking raw.
yeah.
Like where was that recorded at?
Well, it was I think it was Timo Tolkki's studio. It was in Eastern Helsinki, and I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with it because I was just kind of side show at the time in the band because I think Ed and Snoopy were the primus motors of the band, so they booked the studio and I just went there to play. You know, I had a bass and distortion with me, and I think I played just to DI straight to the mixing desk, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a kind of a we made that and also the Privilege of Evil thing, which were supposed to be a split album with Incantation.
Yeah, my boys.
Yeah, but for some reason I don't know they didn't want to do it. We had
Yeah,
everything.
so you kind of like made like your own thing because I was talking to Yan about it and I was like wondering why you all decided to just do your own thing separate.
Yeah, I don't know why because we had our like cover art done already by Chris Moyan for the split album. But something happened, I don't know what, maybe Labs just wanted us to have like full-length album out at the time. So there it started to escalate little by little, and I think we weren't that determined at that time. We just wanted to play music and get to concerts and get free beer from the venues and hang out with friends. So that was the main point for us. So
Yeah.
everything after that happened a little bit by accident or something like that. So
Yeah. But then you started playing around Finland and then you got signed to Relapse Records, your first label. So how did they find Amorphis?
well, I think they wanted to sign Abhorrence primarily, and they just found out that Opus had split up, and there was a guy who was tape trading here in Finland called Lukas Lahtinen, and he told Relapse guys that okay, Apparence guys, which means Tommy, basically, are having a new band called Amorphis, and it's on the same way as Apparence was, because we were playing Vulgar Necrolatry, for example, as a cover song, so it was a little bit the same sort of stuff. So he requested us to Relapse Records, who again contacted ESA and asked like if we were keen to have a deal with them.
Yeah. And then, of course, you put out your first album, The Carillion is Smooth. I think this is a really great debut album. Probably, in my opinion, a very underrated debut album in metal. So what was like the whole writing and recording process like for the debut full-length Amorphis album?
Well, I don't know. It just kept like it happened naturally after the demo, and I think we evolved in songwriting a little bit. Tommy Koivusaari started to bring in music, and we made a little bit more complex arrangements. And I don't have lots of like memories or recollection from those times, but we were just rehearsing and again spending really much time on rehearsing plays, trying out things. I think we made those short like bulks of songs, maybe one or two riffs, which we tried out the day before, and the second day we had figured out something. Okay, maybe we can try this after the second riff, you know. So it was really slow process. We just put riff after riff after riff do the songs, and that's why those songs have so many riffs and parts, because we always found a new part. Okay, this can fit here after this part, and we didn't care if any of those parts didn't repeat themselves at any point of the song. So they weren't actually exactly like choruses or verses or whatever. So we just built them up like only thing that mattered was that the pieces were fitting together in a row. So that's how it came up, and of course we wanted to make a little bit more ambitious songs and a little bit more complex stuff, just like other bands, like Morbid Angel, for example, and Paradise Lost, maybe. So that's how it happened, and we didn't have any kind of master plan when we went to Sunlight Studios with Thomas Skogsberg, and I think he did a splendid job with it, because he kind of found a great guitar sound for us, and forced us to change the strings to the instruments, which we didn't do at the time. We just all like a couple of years and went to studio with those same strings. So that was the first thing he wanted us to do, to buy new strings and to put up our gear a little bit with better shape. And yeah, and he had those electric drums in the studio, which was kind of a unorthodox thing for us, at least, you know. So that's why it has so clear drum sound. That's probably one reason. And yeah, it was really quick process. I think it took maybe 1 week in all, and we already got some kind of a mix out of it to take back to Finland when we came back and listened to it in the ferry back to Finland from Sweden. So yeah, it was really rapid action, and a little bit the same as with the Tales from the Thousand Lakes. It was probably a little bit longer session, but still, it was with a. And I think when we heard Karelian Isthmus, it was kind of surprise for us that it sounded so good. We didn't expect anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going into Tales from the Thousand Lakes, I love this album. And, this year does mark the 30-year anniversary of this album. And it holds a place in my heart because, it's been around as long as I've existed. So how do you feel about this album 30 years later? Because I know you recently did like a live DVD where you played this album in full. So how do you feel about the album now with going now 30 years later?
Well, obviously, I don't listen to it that much nowadays, but still, back in the days, we really were really proud of it, and we just kind of knew that we have done something at least different, if not something special. But we knew that the album was different from.
Yeah. It's still heavy, but has a more kind of like a melodicness to it in a way.
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of a death metal, but it's not aggressive or anything like that. It's kind of moody and doomy or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It's maybe I'm a little bit too close to it, but I'm really proud of it, and I think it's like really important, if not the most important album for Amorphis, because I don't know if we would exist as we do if it wasn't made, but still it's and I know that it's really important for people and for fans. Uh, so, but it was kind of hard to review how people would see it at the time because yeah, we were too close to it and we were pretty humble guys and we didn't think too much of ourselves, and it kind of came as a little bit surprise for us that it became so popular in metal scene.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a freaking us out that when we went to our first European tour in Germany, we made the first show there. It was sold out, so it was really like blew us out. Like we weren't exactly sure what to await with that album.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think you also toured like the US for the first time around this album cycle. So how do you feel? What was like your first impression of us Americans?
Oh, well, of course, it was really exotic to be there. When we were like 18, 19 years old and maybe 20 at max. No, 20, 20, 20, 21 maybe. Snoopy was the youngest guy, so he was 19 or something like that. So yeah, it was really, really like a different culture, and we didn't know what to expect at the time. And I think probably we went to Pennsylvania first and to Relapse's office for a while, and we did some interviews there. And of course, it was fun. It was like living in a movie, because of all the register plates of the cars and stuff like that. It's like felt a little bit like being in an action movie. It was so different for us, and we were young guys, so. But still, we adapted pretty well to that, and it was like we had just a little van, and we were 7 guys uh, on that van for 7 weeks. So it was I probably couldn't pull it off nowadays, but then we were so excited about everything, so it didn't feel so bad, and yeah. I think those conditions were pretty harsh. If you think about it right now, I think any band would do it that way because it was like really shitty car, and we didn't have showers, and if we did, it was all cold water because all the boilers were empty already when we were allowed to go to the shower after entombed. So uh, yeah, it was tough, but it was really really fun, and we enjoyed every moment. And I think we watched Entombed playing every night, uh, the entire concert. It was so good
Yeah.
at the time, and yeah, we were drinking a lot. We got like $20 every day, and we were able to get like a 12 pack of Coors or Budweiser and a box of cigarettes and maybe some meal from Wendy's or whatever. So so that's all we did for that time. So yeah, it
Nice.
was.
Nice. And of course, next album, Elegy. I think this is a very another, like, I guess the next evolution in the Amorphis sound. It's a lot more progressive sounding. And of course, you had Pazzi as your singer. So how did he end up joining Amorphis?
Well, we didn't have a vocalist when we entered the studio. We again recorded in Sunlight Studios with Tuva Skogsberg, and I think we did drums, guitars, and basses there. And then something happened. Tumas freaked out, or he just wanted to end the session, or something like that. And we went back home, and we only had a rough mix of Elegy with us, and Tommy had done his vocals, the growling vocals, and there weren't any clean vocals, and lots of instrumental parts still on the album. So it was a little bit like confusing situation, and we already thought like, okay, maybe we can put it out as instrumental or something, but then I don't know. One friend of us requested Pasi, this band called Saint Mukus, and he played their EP or vinyl single or whatever, and I think he sounded really good. His vocals was like he had really much character in his vocals, even though it was really quite raw, but still we asked him and he agreed, and I can't actually remember how did it go from there. Maybe it was Tommy Koivusaari who tried to teach him or which parts to sing, and he came up with the vocal parts and recorded them in Helsinki on the top of the other tracks. And it was the recording was had been done really poorly. I think Tuomas had screwed up something while recording it. Maybe I think he recorded both bass drums to same track, for example. So it was really like a hard. And another of them was like on the lower on the mix. So Pete Coleman in Liverpool Par Street Studios, where we mixed the album, he had to separate those bass drums manually, which was really time consuming, and there was like plenty of those kind of things on the tracks, which didn't make it easier. But I think Pete Coleman did really great job with it. He kind of saved the album, if you could say so. He mixed it maybe in 10 days in Liverpool, and we stayed with Esa until then. And yeah, it was just new chapter for us, having like a permanent vocalist on Fold. So it was really exciting times to go to tour, for example, and see what's going to happen, because the band was totally different at the time, and we probably tried to be a little bit more professional at the time. We had tuners for guitars, for example, and so forth. So it got a little better. It wasn't perfect yet, but still, we didn't take touring and live shows and live situations as serious as we should have taken them. We were still playing drunk a little bit, little bit more sometimes as well, but still, yeah, it was interesting to tour with it, because then the audiences started to get really bigger in Europe. We had like bigger venues and bigger audiences, and sold like lots of T-shirts and lots of albums. And I think Elegy sold pretty well too. So we had that kind of a new pressure in our necks, try to be more professional. And we did our best, but yeah,
Totally.
we weren't professional yet. So
Yeah. And then moving on to the next album, Tonella, I thought this was a great album. I know this year does mark 25 years of this album, and I feel like it's a lot kind of like folky compared to Elegy a bit, because I know it was like based off of like the realm of the dead from in Finnish mythology and stuff. So tell me about making this album.
yes, that's the first album we ever did in Finland. We recorded it in Helsinki in Finvox Studios with the proper producer, with God damn it, I can't remember his name, but still
Simon Efnery.
Simon FME, yeah, that's right. He had produced Paradise Lost and Napalm Death, and I think Records suggested us to use him, and it was a good idea in our opinion, because we had digged those old Paradise Lost albums which he produced. So it was kind of fun. It was it was recorded on tape still, but it was kind of turning point for us because Pro Tools was launched then, and we were already using it by Simon. There was a Pro Tools system in Finvox, so it was a kind of game-changing thing because it was easier to edit and easier to mix and easier to add more effects to the album and to have smoother production. And it was kind of a serious ball game already because he was already telling, for example, me what to play at some. He just came up like an idea, like, okay, maybe there could be a better bass part here. So go home and figure out something and come back tomorrow. And that's what I did. So he was actually producing the music as well. So it was like a kind of improvement production-wise for Amorphis. And the music had changed a little bit, pretty much actually already. We have gotten into rock music, and we're listening to Kingston Wall and bands like Monster Magnet, for example. So we tried to do something different with that album, and Pasi was taking the full responsibility of vocal parts. So it kind of came a little bit easier for us, for the other members, so we didn't need to think about the vocals at all. And he did all the lyrics and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a kind of more serious album in a way. We it was well, we it's not that metal album as the previous ones, at least when it comes to death metal, because and therefore it's a little bit more adult oriented, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you started touring for a little bit, and then of course in 2000 you left Amorphis. So how hard was it to leave the band at the time?
Well, it was hard. It was something that I didn't actually want to do, but under those circumstances, it was the only option, and it was a good choice in retrospective. But still, I just started to play stoner rock and have fun with playing again. Like it wasn't that fun anymore with Amorphis, so I just wanted to enjoy playing again, and that's what I did with Manhai. We toured in Finland quite a lot and did
Yeah.
a couple tours, really like grassroots level tours in Europe, and it was fun again to play music, to entertain myself playing music, and it was like kind of a great lesson for me in bass playing as well, because
Yeah,
uh,
I love
I
those albums too, like the Sons of Yesterday's Black Grouse and Evil Under the Sun. Those are some good fucking albums.
okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, yeah, because there was only one guitar player, I had to like fill in for rhythm guitar at the time. So it was kind of a new challenge for myself, and it was fun to like just to play whatever I liked, and it was the kind of band where we didn't play the same song in a similar way two
Mm.
times.
Yeah.
So it was
And
lots of changing and improvising, and
yeah. Yeah, and
and
of
then
course, this year is also a special year for Manhai because this year does mark 20 years of the album The Exploder. So, what was sort of like the thought process making that album?
Explorer.
Yeah.
So it was maybe yeah, we had a producer for that as well, called Jürgen Hendelmeier. He's from Germany, and he had produced bands like Flaming Sideburns, for example, and it was that kind of action rock period where we wanted to do a change as well, and not to be as stonerish as we used to be, to have like a little bit more rock and roll to our sound. So and that's what we did basically. And it was kind of a long process recording that album, uh, comparing to the two previous ones. For example, with Evil Under the Sun, we just stayed like 10 days in Sweden, in near Gothenburg, recording. It was fun session as well, but this was a little different. We did it in different places, and mastered it in Sweden and whatever. So it was kind of a mixed uh, thing to do, mixed up thing. You know, it was the recording session and the production wasn't that solid, but there was a producer who had like all the strings in his hands, and he had some kind of vision of it, and it was good result. It ended up a little bit different than I thought it would, but it's a different Manhai album, and the production is pretty good actually.
Yeah. And also that same year, I know you also did a Chaos Breed, which is a really fucking heavy death metal album. I know you did the Unleash Carnage EP in '03, and I know it's also 20 years of the last album, Brutal. So how do you feel about that album and that band? Because another band that nobody ever talks about.
Yeah, well, it was not that serious thing, you know. We just uh, yeah, we weren't that serious about it. We just wanted to get back to our roots or whatever, and have some fun, and to off a label. It was our turn to get some money out of it. So yeah, I think the album costed like 1,000 euros, and we got 10,000 euros as a master fee. So it was kind of a fun thing for us to do. Uh, Probably the first time we ever got money from the record label. So, but it was a impossible thing to realize in the end of the day, because yes, I was having Amorphis, and many people didn't actually want to go on tour, and there was this drum player, Nalle, a good friend of mine. He just wanted to take it further, and no one else kind of didn't. So it kind of ended up in a little bit sore note, and we've been in talks to do something every now and then, but it never has materialized. But I don't know, who knows, maybe someday. But it was fun project to do, and it was really like empowering to play death metal again, and to actually prove ourselves that we can still do it. So wasn't that certain at the time.
And then kind of going back to Manhai, you know, the last album, Hell Road Caravan, came out in 2006. I thought it was a good album. Is there any plans to do more albums with Manhai, or is your main focus is of course with Amorphis?
Well, we tried to do some new songs like 5 years ago, and we actually finalized maybe 3 or 4 songs in the studio, but we never got them mixed. And then Xusma reunion happened, and it kind of would have felt a little bit strange to do Manhai at the same time because Janitor was involved with Xusma stuff and touring with them, so it kind of ended up there. So it's maybe something can happen in the future with that, but still, I'm kind of busy right now with Octoploid, so it's and Amorphis, of course, but so I don't have too much time to spend with Manhai or Chaos Breed or whatever. But who
Yeah,
knows? Maybe something will happen in the future.
yeah.
I'm I'm not closing it off.
Then flash forward to 2007, you also started up Baron in Earth, which is just very doomy and also melodic and death heavy as well. So how did the idea to form Baron Earth come to be?
Well, yeah. Well, as I told, it was kind of a. I have to admit that it was like the impulse for Baron Earth was coming from Opeth, and uh, I think I don't know. It's Opeth reminded me a little bit of early Amorphis when I heard it for the first time. Still Life album. I thought like, okay, this guy's sounding exactly like Tommy Koivusari, and the songs are a little bit the same as well. So and that's when I learned and realized that okay, there is a demand for this kind of music because it was started to grow. So therefore, I just thought like, okay, what the heck? I'm just doing songs which comes out in a natural way. So that's how some songs of Baronet started to take form. For example, Flame of Serenity and Flood Red and so forth. So I had maybe 4 demos with everything like a crawling vocals and clean vocals, some clean vocals as well, which I did at home. So and I kind of demonstrated them to Marco, the drum player, and asked like maybe we could come up with a new band with this, and he said yes, and then we started to gather people around us. Janne was the first one who joined, and also Sami came along because yeah, I had been talking with Sami that we should do something together. It's like in the 90s already, so that was the opportunity to ask him to join, and he agreed to come over, and then Kasper and Mikko joined the group as well, and then we just made a demo of 4 songs in Helsinki, and I think a couple of those songs have been released on this our Twilight EP.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like Flame of Serenity and Flood Red.
Yes, 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 and they're probably I think Year All Perish and one other song was on that demo as well.
Oh, I think Forlorn Waves.
Yeah, 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 that's right. Yeah, yeah. So yes, that's how it went. It's just like I was like the Primus motor in the beginning, and I just wanted to come up with something other than stoner rock for a change, and wanted to do something a little bit more ambitious when it comes to music, not to play only rock anymore, and because I just felt like I have something in me like more than that, so. wanted to do something a little bit more complex, and well, that's really where it started. We weren't supposed to tour, for example, but it just ended up to be like that. We made one American tour and one tour in Europe and a bunch of gigs in Finland and some festivals around Europe. So yeah, that's how it went, and
Yeah.
did for us as well. So
Yeah, and that even that first album, Curse of the Red River, is just I love it. It's just like in your face and just like heavy, but also very doomy at the same time.
yeah, that's my favorite as well from those albums.
Yeah, everybody always says like it always has like kind of like that debut kind of charm in a way.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. And also, yeah, with the debut album, usually the members are sharing the same ideas and have like playing to the same goal, if you could say so. But then I don't know, people are like fond of bringing their own ideas and start to try to take things to direction with where they want to go themselves, and people, not everybody always agrees with those things, you know. And it's because there were six guys and pretty determined guys, and yeah, and also we had different visions about the band of how it should be. It became a little bit kinky thing to pull off, and also we weren't agreeing on should we tour and how much should we tour and so forth. So it was becoming a little bit difficult to operate with that band.
Yeah.
But still, it was really fun as as long as it lasted. So
Yeah,
it was really nice until the end.
because I love
But
those the other three, Devil's Resolve, Art on Lonely Towers, and A Complex of Cages. Those are some other good albums too. But like you said, I think the debut is just it has that charm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But for example, with the complex of cages, as good as it is, or let's talk about maybe on Lonely Towers. Uh, you can actually hear that there are like similar, I mean, different songwriters on it, and the songs are really different from each other. So it's not that, well, of course, it's good for dynamics, but still, I think it had started to lose the red line a little bit at that point.
Yeah. But then I also want to talk about Kill You Velka 70. I know you did that one album in 2010, which is I'm not even gonna bother pronouncing the name of it. So tell me about like the idea to form that band.
Well, it was just for fun, you know. That has something to do with Rytmihäiriö, which you told about yesterday, before. There were a couple guys from Rytmihäiriö, the drum player Otto and their former vocalist Kate, and we just thought like, okay, let's do this old school hardcore punk hardcore band, which is like basically singing about drinking self-made booze and stuff like that. So it was kind of therapy project for myself, and we made couple of EPs and did handful of shows, and it was fun as well. It was pretty refreshing to do that project. Actually, it was kind of just to play and put your brains off and just to play music, and yeah, it was a total entertainment for ourselves, and there was nothing serious behind it, and yeah, it wasn't a hard decision. And we didn't even decide to end it up. We just had enough of it, and it ran its course, and yeah. But maybe we can reactivate that as well at some point.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And then flash forward to 2017, you ended up rejoining Amorphis. So what made you decide to come back?
Well, it was just that Esa called me, and I simply just even didn't think about it that much. I just thought like, okay, I'm up to it, and
Yeah, it's like, hey, dude, want to come back? He's like, yeah.
yeah. It was kind of a when he called, I immediately knew that okay, something is boiling here because we didn't talk much on telephone like the past years, and yeah, it was heartwarming that he called and asked me because there were like, of course, I thought like there were like plenty of other options as well in the markets, and I actually thought about like that like couple hours, a couple years after I rejoined that why didn't they take some professional? But maybe they just wanted to bring the old group back together, and it was kind of it was really nostalgic and fun, and I'm still enjoying it, and we are having really great time on tour and together while writing new stuff, for example, and yeah, there's a really like warm friendship uh, between every one of us in the
Oh
band.
yeah.
So
And so tell me about making Queen of Time, like your first record back with the band. And this album just holds a place in my heart because that was actually the first time I ever saw you guys was on that album cycle. You did the tour with our friends in Dark Tranquility and Moonspell and Onyam Gatherium. So what was the whole like album cycle like for Queen of Time in terms of like the whole writing and recording process for it?
yeah, well, it was 3 year period touring for that album, but still it was my first experience with really like demanding producer like James Booker. So yeah, he did the pre-production in pretty like a strict manner. He changed some parts like from the song to another and so, so forth. So it was kind of confusing for myself that someone is working like that, and he just put up the tempos of the songs pretty much. And yeah, we went to Stockholm to record the drums first as a six piece. We just went there and played with Snoopy, and then Snoopy continued to do his drums when we left back to Finland on the top of those pilot tracks, which we had played in the studio. And I think like about 1 month after that, I went to Örebro for 3 days for a long weekend and played my bass parts there. And I think it was like 3 minutes after the last note I played, I was in a taxi to the airport, and it was so hectic session for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of a easy way to work because not every member had to be present all the time. So we just were there with doing the pilot tracks and then did our parts. So it was kind of a easy thing to do, and then I just heard the end result at some time. So
Yeah.
there was nothing to say about it. It was
Yeah.
there simply.
And one of my favorite songs from Queen of Time is, of course, Among Stars. You worked with Anneke Van. I can never say her last name. So yeah, there. So so what was it? How'd she end up like featuring on Among Stars?
Ah, good question. I think she is like coming from the same scene as we do. She was in a band called fuck, I can't remember. Not Anathema, but
I know she was
Gathering.
in Gentle Storm and Ver.
She was in Gathering, was singing in Gathering, and she was. They were playing at the same venues as we did back in the days, and I'm not quite sure. Maybe did she sing already in one Amorphis album before? I don't know, but still, I know that the guys knew her, and
Yeah, on Under the Red Cloud, the album before you rejoined.
yeah. But still, it's uh, probably it was just natural thing to ask her when Jens thought that there should be female vocals on that particular song, and I think Esa just asked her to sing it, and she did it in her home studio and or whatever in Netherlands somewhere, and yeah, that's how it came out. And the next thing, we're doing video with her in
Yeah.
Helsinki.
And I remember like seeing that song live with her because you did that tour with Delane and she was actually opening for you all. I saw you all at the Atlanta show at the Masquerade and sing that song live. Ugh, it just gives goosebumps. But to even sing it like Prog Power is interesting because you had her vocals on like the playback, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, it's not a little bit corny way to do it, but still, it's kind of a big song. It's like a huge song for Amorphis, so we have to find a way to bring it to the live situation as well. So I don't know what would be the second option to have Anneke with us.
Yeah, or have like Tommy Yoten like do double duty, but that would be hard.
Yeah, I know. But still, it's we don't play it every time. But whenever we do, we are just like using those backing tracks and having her on screens usually. But I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe there weren't screens in Rock Power. But whatever. That's how it goes. I don't know. I cannot help it.
Yeah. But then, of course, you toured for a little bit, and then obviously 2020 hits, and then the whole certain virus that I still don't want to talk about happens. And I know during that time, I know the pandemic really kind of like fucked up the music industry at all. But for you guys, I know you've just started working on the next album, your last album, Halo. Did like the pandemic at all sort of like influence like the sound of Halo, like sonically, or did you try to like keep that completely separate?
Well, we did it in a virtual way. We didn't even meet James Bukren during that session, so it was a totally different kind of thing. We were kind of isolated in a studio in Helsinki and using mask every now and then, and it was a little bit spooky period. And yeah, I cannot tell anything else that I did my bass parts here in Helsinki and sent the tracks to James Bukren, and he was happy with them. So that's what I did. And again, and I heard the album a little bit later. So it was we weren't that involved with that process with Halo album. We just played our parts and that's it. Of
Yeah.
course, we were in the same studio with as the whole band again when we recorded the drums, but still, that's probably the only period when we met each other during the recordings.
Yeah. And then now, being that it has been 2 years since Halo Low, have you all started working on the next Amorphis full length album? Like, what's like the current status with that, if you're allowed to say?
Well, we have songs. We have 25 songs in a cloud drive, and we are expecting to have some comments from the producer. And let's see, it's up to the producer which songs will be picked from those.
Yeah,
So it's kind of hard for me to say which kind of album will it be, but still, we have a different producer this time, which I cannot unfortunately reveal yet. But still, we are in the middle of the process, and I think we are starting to do pre-production pretty soon. We were aiming to start the recordings on 9th of December, but it seems like it won't happen at this time because we are running a little bit late of the schedule. But still, the master should be ready somewhere in the March, and we will have a little break on touring. Maybe we will do our first show in the end of this year for the next album. So it's going to be
yeah,
tiny break for Amorphis, and I think it's about time to do it. So
yeah,
looking forward to the album and getting on tour again later
yeah.
on. But
And then
this,
kind of like last thing I want to talk about is of course Octoploid. I think it's a really great album beyond the Aeons. Definitely a really great album, great way to start off the career with a bang. So how did the idea come to be to form Octoploid? Because I feel like it's just very progressive, like almost like when I look at the album artwork, it looks almost like very 70s style. But when I heard it, I was like, wow, this is definitely surprising, not what I expected it to be.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's kind of a the impulse for that album was probably because I turned 50 in 23. So and I was aiming to have an album out already then, but it got a little bit late because the process was so long and it took time to have like people to cooperate with me, like record labels and stuff like that. So it was really time-consuming stuff. I probably started to do it in 22, which was a little bit too late already. But the idea was to mix everything that I had done so far, stoner music and death metal and progressive rock and classic rock or whatever. I just wanted to include all my influences on the same album, and that's basically what we did. So, and also it was really important for me to take part to the production because I just wanted it. I wanted it to be. Uh, I wanted to stand uh, like behind the album. It's not perfect production, but it's still like something that I like personally. It's like I'm not too fond of kind of ultra processed metal production of today. I'm not into that much. So I'm a little bit more like an old school guy, and that's how I wanted the record to sound like. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. I wanted to make the songs and lyrics and arrangements myself, and also to be to take part to the production. So yeah, that's the story short
Yeah.
behind the years.
Yeah, and of course, this is also labeled as sort of like your solo band. So, how is it like? Is there like any differences like having it now just be like solo based versus like with a band like with Amorphis and other projects that you've been involved with?
Do you mean what's the difference between it?
Yeah, the difference between just having you just sort of like us, I guess, like Octoploid being solo, and then Amorphis just is like you with like a
Yeah.
bunch of other guys as a band.
Well, it's like in a way it's easier because music-wise I can uh, like I always have the last word. You know, I have the veto of everything, and I just tell musicians what to play basically, and that's the easy part of it. And I don't need to, you know, no one can question my decisions about anything. So it's kind of easy just to go further and not to argue about any details about anything. So it's pretty easy, but
Yeah,
still it's pretty hard as well because again, in responsibility in everything what's happening, and it requires lots of work to make an album on your own. And first of all, I needed to like write everything and to do lyrics and arrangements and to
has
come
to
up
be a
with.
lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's lots of pressure, and it's also like you are pretty alone with the process, and at the darkest moments when nothing here like sounds good, it makes you think like, is this good thing at all? You know, should I just call it off? And those times were happening in the process as well. So it was kind of a, but still there was like a euphoric moments as well. I heard a new mix, for example, and it sounded good. So it was really mixed feelings throughout the process, and a really exhausting process too. But it was still something that I wanted to do and I needed to do if I just wanted to do something on my own and to come up with an album with entirely my own material. So that's something I had to do, you know.
Yeah, and in terms of like touring with Octoploid, are you planning on doing some more tours and stuff? Is there a chance maybe you could do some stuff here in the States?
Well, who knows? You know, we made one show, release show here in Helsinki, and we are booking a tour to Finland. to next spring. I think we have published a couple of the dates, but there will be more of them. And I think we are having just recently, we probably signed a deal with an agent in Europe. So probably there's going to be European shows at some point, and then it's there is like the next thing to do on my task list is starting to scout for an agent to America, North America. So let's see how it goes. I don't know. It might be hard because we are just like a small band from Finland. Currently, we are not a super group, or we are not like doing millions streams in Spotify or whatever. But still, I can see it happening at some point. I don't know if it's gonna be this album or the next one, but let's see. At least I'm going to try. Let's see.
Yeah. All right. And then the final question I wanted to ask you to sort of wrap things up is I want to talk about like your bass playing, because I know you've heard your fair share of bass player jokes and memes and stuff, but I feel like you don't gravitate towards flashy bass playing, but I feel like you also find ways to link what the guitars are doing with the melody and what the drums are doing with the rhythm, but in a very creative sense. So for you, with like whether it be with Amorphis, Octoploid, or what other projects are you in, what's your approach to like playing bass?
Well, I don't know. I kind of admire the 70s bass players like Jack Bruce and Barry Oakley and of course Gene Simmons and then of course Steve Harris and Cliff Burton. And like puts those players together is that they are pretty busy players. You know, they're playing quite much, but still in a melodic manner, and not in like funk manner or jazz manner. You know, not trying to be Jacob Asterius or Flea or whatever, but still doing like melodic bass lines. And personally, I'm using pretty much pentatonic stuff, and it's fitting surprisingly many songs. You know, just to play pentatonic, it's pretty easy, but you still need to take rhythm to the consideration as well. I've learned to listen to the drum player quite much and try to play on sync with the drum player, and also to if there's, for example, vocal line, I try to avoid playing on the top vocal line, but whenever the vocals end, I just try to bring up some lick there, here and there. So that's my way to do it, and it's not really like a rocket science what I'm doing. It's just like basically pentatonic stuff and some oriental scales and also like rhythmic stuff, and I try to play as much as possible without disturbing
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think you also have a good bass tone, because I know you also play like the Gibson Thunderbird basses. Since I'm always curious about like the strings that you play, and also like the amps and stuff.
Yeah, it's these GHS strings. It's heavy, so it's 50 to 115 long scale set, and with Amorphis I'm using Kemper profiler and some kind of Ambek profile on it. But with, for example, Octoploid, I'm having this Ambek Classic SVT amp and 8 per like 12-inch cabinets. So and also when it comes to bass, I'm using Sandberg basses with Amorphis. But with Octoploid, I'm currently using Gibson Thunderbird and Rickenbacker as well. And I have some other Gibson basses like a SG bass from 74 and Fender jazz bass fretless, which I'm using a little bit as well nowadays, just as an effect in the studio.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also Greco Thunderbird and Epiphone Thunderbird from the Pro, Epiphone Pro Thunderbird, which is kind of a 70s model. So yeah, it's basically not very hi-fi stuff. It's pretty vintage gear, and also as an effect, I pretty much use this Flia wah, Crybaby wah, made by Dunlop, and some fuzz pedal, maybe Big Muff by Electro Harmonics, and a tuner. That's simple stuff, but that's all I need.
Oh yeah. So thank you, Oppu, for this interview. It was so great to be able to talk with you and now have like a third of Amorphis on my channel that I've tried with. There's just anything else with Amorphis or Octoploid that you would also like to plug?
What do you mean? Like
Like
which song?
in terms of like tours and stuff.
Okay, yeah. Well, as I said, with Octoploid, we are planning to make tours. In Finland, we have already booked, and there's going to be a surprise guest on that tour on Fold. So stay tuned for that. And also, we are planning to do some festival shows in Finland, and who knows in Europe as well. I don't know if it's too late to do it still, but let's see. And actually, we are working on one new song also, which probably will be out at some stage. Let's see. And with Amorphis, we are just waiting to get the proper song list from the producer in order to start rehearsing the new stuff. And then we start to make the pre-production for the new album, and it probably will go pretty much in the same manner as the previous two albums, Halo and Queen of Time. We will just record the basic tracks together and then do our own things afterwards. And that album should be ready somewhere in March next year. And then we are just going to have a laser time with Amorphis, and we all probably will keep ourselves busy. Elsewhere, for example, Cemetery Skylines, Silver Lake probably, and The Eternal, and Octoploid, of course, and Tommy Koivusaari is having a cabin in the woods in the like middle Finland, so I think he's going to stay there at least for some time. So
Nice.
yeah, that's something I'm looking forward.
But yeah, but thanks, man. So everybody, Olli Pekka-Laine from Amorphis and Octoploid. We'll see you next time.